My own son buried me before I was even dead. I know sounds like some twisted metaphor, right? But no, I mean it literally. He buried me while my heart was still beating, while air still filled my lungs, while I was flat on my back in some sterile hospital room. Halfway across the world, tubes in my chest, machines whispering my heartbeat like a countdown to zero. The place smelled like cold metal and antiseptic, and every beep from that monitor felt like another shovel of dirt being tossed over me. They told me I might not make it through the night. Guess my son Trevor heard that and thought might not was close enough. While I was clinging to life in Switzerland, he was back home fighting for might and money. Crazy, huh? A man spends a lifetime building something, land, legacy, a name that means something, and it takes your own blood 3 days to sell it off like a busted pickup. The farm my granddad built in 1924. The dirt I worked till my back cracked, and my hands blade gone, sold, all. While I was lying there half alive, staring at a ceiling, not knowing my whole life's work was disappearing faster than my next breath. The nurses kept saying I was a miracle, said maybe I had an angel watching over me. I wanted to believe that. But here's the truth, some angels don't save you. They just keep you alive long enough to feel the fire. My son never called, never texted, didn't even ask how surgery went. The last words I heard before they put me under were, "Don't worry, Dad. I got you." Yeah, he had me all right signed, sealed and sold. The night before, I told him where the papers were, the will, the insurance, the power of attorney. I trusted him. That's the part that cuts the deepest. Not the pain, not the scars, the trust. I raised him to work hard, to protect what's his, to be a man. I thought I was leaving my world in good hands. Turns out, those hands were already digging my grave. When I woke up after surgery, something just felt wrong. The air tasted like metal and regret. My throat was dry as sandpaper. My chest felt like it had been cracked open and glued back together. And my head was full of fog thick enough to drown in. For a second, I didn't even know where I was. Bright lights, muffled voices, everything spinning like some half-remembered nightmare. Then I heard a voice say, "Mr. Sullivan, you're awake. You're a miracle." A nurse leaned over me, smiling like I'd just cheated death. I wanted to tell her miracles don't feel this damn heavy, but no sound came out. My lips moved, my throat burned, nothing. Finally, I rasped out one word, "Trevor." The nurse shook her head. "Your son. He hasn't called yet, sir. Maybe he doesn't know you're awake." My heart skipped, not out of love, but suspicion. Trevor always called, always. If I sneezed wrong, he'd text me to check in. Something about that silence felt off, and deep down, I knew it wasn't just bad timing. A day later, when the fog in my skull started to clear, I asked the nurse for my phone. She pulled open the drawer beside my bed. There it was, sitting there dead and dusty like nobody had touched it in weeks. I plugged it in and waited. When the screen finally blinked to life, it lit up with 100 notifications. Not one from Trevor, not a single hang in there. "Dad," or "You made it." Instead, my feed was full of headlines from back home. The Sullivan farm sold after nearly a century. My stomach dropped. I scrolled through the post photos of the realtor, smiling wide, shaking my son's hand right in front of a big red sold sign. The caption read, "End of an era, beginning of a new one." I swear my chest went cold. I trusted that boy with every damn thing, the land, the money, the name, and he sold it off like a yard sale special. I hit the call button and asked the nurse to dial Trevor's number. It rang once, twice, then straight to voicemail. His voice came through, chipper and fake. "Hey, this is Trevor. Can't talk right now. Leave a message." I hung up before the beep. Didn't even have the strength to speak. My stomach twisted like I'd swallowed ice. That night, I just lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to the slow, steady beeps of the heart monitor. Each one reminded me I was still alive, alive enough to feel every ounce of that betrayal. My son had buried me in silence and debt before I was even in the ground. And that's when it hit me, if I was still breathing, then damn it, I still had a say in how this story ends. A few days later, once the doctors said I was stable enough to sit up, I finally started scrolling through my messages. I don't even know what I was looking for, maybe a text, a photo, something that proved Trevor still cared. Instead, I found something that hit harder than any scalpel ever could. There it was, a photo I'll never forget. My son, Trevor, and his fiancée, Madison, standing beside a brand new Porsche, champagne glasses raised high. Her caption read, "New beginnings, feeling so blessed." I just stared at it till my vision went blurry. That shiny car, her designer dress, those fake smiles, all of it paid for with my money. My land, my blood and sweat, the life I built from the dirt up. I could almost hear them laughing while I sat there, hooked up to machines, trying to remember how to breathe. And right then, I felt something inside me snap, not my heart, something deeper. The part of me that still believed in family. For the first time in 70 damn years, I felt truly alone. The walls around me felt like a coffin, cold, white, and closing in. I kept hearing Trevor's voice in my head. "Don't worry, Dad, I got you." Yeah, he had me all right, had my signature, my trust, and every damn thing I ever worked for. I thought about my father. How proud he'd been the day he handed me that farm. "Keep it alive, son," he used to say. "It's not just land, it's who we are." Now it wasn't ours anymore. Just another patch of dirt for some developer to turn into condos or a mall. I pictured my old tractor rusting in the field, my father's fence posts getting ripped out one by one, and I swear, I could feel my blood pressure spiking with every thought. That night, I didn't sleep. I couldn't. The machines beside me hummed, and every slow beep of the monitor sounded like a countdown, like time daring me to give up. I thought about calling Trevor again, maybe to scream, maybe to beg, but I didn't, because deep down, I already knew the answer. Greed, pride, maybe a little bit of both. He wanted to step out of my shadow, prove he was smarter, faster, richer. But in doing so, he killed the very thing that made him my son. I stared out that hospital window into the black Swiss night, my chest still aching, and made myself a promise if I walked out of that place alive, I wasn't gonna die a victim. I was gonna take back what was mine, even if it meant clawing my way out of the grave he put me in. The days dragged on like wet cement, slow, heavy, suffocating. My body was healing, sure, but my mind was burning up. Every heartbeat felt like a reminder not that I'd survived, but that I still had unfinished business waiting for me back home. The doctors called it recovery. I called it training. I forced myself to walk those hospital halls, one shaky step at a time, my legs trembling like old fence posts in a storm. The nurses thought I was eager to get better. They didn't know I was counting the steps between me and revenge. Every morning, I'd stare at that window at the Swiss Alps. Everyone said they were beautiful, and maybe they were, but all I could see was home. Kansas, my porch, the fields stretching out under the sun, the smell of fresh cut hay after a long day's work. I could almost feel my father's calloused hands on mine, steady and strong. "You take care of this land, Frankie," he used to say. "It'll take care of you." And I had. I had taken care of it like it was family. Until the day my own son decided it wasn't worth a damn anymore. That's when I started making quiet phone calls. I called the lawyer who handled my will, asked him to send me the sale papers. The silence on the other end told me everything. Finally, he said, "Frank, your son assured us you wanted it done." I laughed, one of those bitter laughs that hurts your chest. "Did I sound dead when he told you that?" I asked. The man stammered, apologized, said he didn't know. But I wasn't mad at him. I was mad at myself for handing Trevor the power to destroy everything I'd built. He didn't protect it. He weaponized it. So I started writing things down, names, dates, numbers, memories, anything that might help me piece the truth together. When you're stuck in a hospital bed with nothing but time, you learn to plan. And I planned everything. Then one night, a storm rolled through. Wind howled outside, rain tapping against the glass like 1,000 tiny warnings. I lay there, wide awake, watching lightning split the sky. And it hit me, I didn't need fists or lawyers to fight him. I had something stronger. Truth. Cold, unshakable truth. The kind that cuts deeper than any blade. I wasn't gonna beg or plead. No, I was gonna rise, face him, and make him see exactly what he'd buried. That night, I whispered to the dark, "You wanted me gone, son. Well, now you're gonna see what happens when the dead don't stay buried." When the discharge papers finally came and they wheeled me out of that antiseptic cocoon. I thought I'd feel lighter like a man waking from a bad dream. Instead, I carried something heavier, the secret everyone else already knew. Back at the motel the hospital stuck me in. I dug through a stack of forwarded mail, bills, a few condolence cards, and on top of it all a thick, gold-trimmed envelope with my son's name printed across the front. Trevor and Madison. I didn't want to open it, but I did. Inside was a wedding invitation, the kind that costs more than most folks. Monthly mortgage, elegant script, time, place, a 7-course reception. And then, like the worst punchline, beneath the names in smaller italics, in loving memory of Frank Sullivan, they'd printed a memorial for me and tucked it into their celebration like it was a prop. For a second, I laughed, a jagged, unbelieving sound that came out more like a cough. Ridiculous, furious, humiliated. How do you put into words that the people you raised decided you were expendable, like a draft they could trash? The laugh didn't last. It sharpened into focus. I folded that invite with hands that still trembled and slipped it into my jacket. It wasn't a keepsake, it was a target. I thought about the pastor who'd spoken at their faux memorial, the neighbors who clapped when Trevor said he was honoring my legacy by selling the farm. I thought about receipts I'd never seen, titles signed, checks cashed. This wasn't a mistake or a youthful lapse, this was planned and executed while I lay under anesthesia. That's a different kind of betrayal, someone using your trust as paint to hide who they are. So I started making quiet calls. Old friends, the lawyer, a guy at the hardware store who still liked me enough to whisper town gossip. I asked the right questions without sounding like I was bent on war dates. Transfers, who signed what and when. Little things bubbled up. A vendor demanding final payment. A photographer chasing a missed invoice. A florist who frowned when the balance hadn't cleared. Nervous people make mistakes, and mistakes leave traces. I pieced it together slowly. Not with hot revenge, but with cold clarity. I'm not young. I don't rush. I move like the season's slow, steady, impossible to stop once I get rolling. That night on the motel balcony, looking at the dim strip of the town I'd called home, I felt a thing I hadn't in years. Purpose. Quiet. Let from within purpose that keeps you breathing when everything else has stopped. I folded the invitation again and tucked it into my wallet next to a reporter's business card. A guy who wanted the truth, but only if it was told right. I whispered to the empty street below. You don't get to bury me, Trevor. Not while I'm still breathing. This was the spark. In episode 2, the farm sold for $3.2 million. I'll lay out the paper trail, who got paid, and how I started waking up a town that thought I was gone. You don't want to miss the receipts, the lies, or the first moves I made to drag the truth into the light. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, the reckoning's coming.